Many people feel that Generation 4 was the best collective generation of Pokémon ever, and it's hard not to see why. With the amazing Johto remakes and Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum versions that introduced the Sinnoh region and defined what Gen 4 was all about, it's easily got one of the strongest lineups of games of any Pokémon generation. Today we are going to be continuing our Obscure Secrets and Easter Eggs series by looking at the 4th generation of Pokémon and highlight what it has to offer in terms of the weird, interesting, unusual, and downright obscure. Let's take a look. Why don't we begin with something relating to the first gym leader of the Sinnoh games, Rourke. Rourke is somewhat notable because his dad Byron is also a gym leader, and furthermore, Byron's dad even appears in the games as well as the Underground Man, who is basically a representative for the Underground that appears in the Sinnoh games. All of these characters revolve around the theme of mining, and there might actually be an obscure reference to their family lineage in their respective areas of the games. First, they all have a mine-like area that they are attached to, with Rourke being next to the Oreburgh mine, Byron next to Iron Island, and the Underground Man in, well, the Underground. What's interesting about these places, though, is that the depth of the mines actually correlates to that person's place within their family tree. So, for instance, Rourke, as the youngest member of the family, has the Oreburgh mine that is actually the shallowest of the three and only goes down 2 basement floors. Meanwhile, Byron, as the middle member of the family, has Iron Island, and his mine goes down 3 basement floors. And then finally, the Underground Man, who is the oldest of them all, operates the Underground, and that can be assumed to be the deepest mine of them all, since the Underground can't be accessed without special equipment, and the entirety of it is underground. This could just be a coincidence, but if it is any kind of intentional, it's definitely a very subtle and obscure reference to make. This next one isn't technically in a Pokemon game, but it features Pokemon and occurs during the Gen 4 timeframe. In Super Smash Bros. Brawl, in the Pokemon Stadium stage when it's in its Ice mode, a picture of an actual, real-life cat can be seen on the wall of the house that appears in the stage. The cat was assumed to belong to Masahiro Sakurai, creator of Smash Bros., but that ended up not actually being the case. So the real reason why a random picture of a real cat is in the Pokemon stage in Smash Bros. Brawl seems to still be a bit of a mystery. Something that was discovered just recently, which is why it's so unusual, is an unused event involving Cyrus in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. In those games, you first meet Cyrus in Mount Coronet, but the event that was recently uncovered has you meeting Cyrus for the first time, as you can tell by his dialogue, just as you are approaching Floaroma Town. This means that Cyrus was actually meant to be met earlier in the game than he is in the final version, which is pretty interesting to say the least. Another possibly coincidental, possibly intentional Easter egg appears right at the very beginning of the game, and I doubt most people have ever noticed. In Twinleaf Town, which is where you begin the game in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, the roads of the town are in the shape of a kanji symbol that means earth or soil. This could be a reference to the trail itself, or maybe it's in relation to Twinleaf Town, obviously having a very nature-related name itself, or maybe it's just a coincidence. It's hard to say for sure, but it's interesting that it literally has stared us all in the face the second we boot up the game, and most of us have probably passed it by without noticing at all. We've mentioned a couple times throughout the various videos of this series how Game Freak has referenced Pulseman in their Pokemon games. Pulseman is a game made by Game Freak for the Sega Genesis in 1994, and they are particularly fond of it, seeing as how they love to reference it in Pokemon. And another one of those references happens in Diamond and Pearl. Team Galactic's name in Japanese, Gingadon, is a direct reference to the Galaxy Gang from Pulseman, who are the antagonists of that game, just like Team Galactic are for Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. One very odd set of circumstances revolves around the gratitude Pokemon Shaymin and its numerous connections to possible cut content. Firstly, Shaymin can be found in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum at the Flower Paradise, which is an exclusive area in Sinnoh just reserved for this purpose, that can only be accessed via an event. Well, it very much seems to be the case that this event revolving around Shaymin was supposed to take place in Floaroma Town, but those plans were scrapped for some reason. First, Floaroma Town is a town full of flowers, which is Shaymin's signature, and the people of the town even state that the town used to be barren until someone showed their gratitude, which caused all the flowers to bloom, which is also Shaymin's signature as the gratitude Pokemon, and its Pokedex entries even talk about how it can do this very thing. It also seems to be just a little bit too coincidental and perfect that the Fuego Ironworks, which is a giant ironworks factory, sits just outside of Floaroma Town and is also the perfect kind of place that could produce a bunch of pollution that could then float into Floaroma Town, thereby starting the sequence of events that this Shaymin event could have revolved around. You even obtain the Gracidia, Shaymin's signature held item, in Floaroma Town, so all signs really do point to it being involved in an event here that was for some reason moved to the Flower Paradise. Furthermore, Shaymin has also been the subject of strong theories about it possibly being a canned starter Pokemon. I've discussed this before myself, but Shaymin, alongside its Skyform and Virizion from Gen 5, absolutely look like they could have been a part of an evolutionary family at one point, possibly even a starter family. Then, when you consider that Shaymin is based on a hedgehog, just like Chespin, an actual grass starter, and Chespin's evolved form Chestnut is grass fighting type, just like Virizion, it really begins to paint a very convincing picture that this could have very possibly been a real thing. So with Shaymin being tied to so many very convincing possible scrapped ideas, it makes you think about all of the development this Pokemon could have went through to get where it is now, and what plans Game Freak could have originally had for it. Drifloon is one of the cooler Pokemon introduced in Gen 4 with a unique method of obtaining it. You can only encounter it by going to the Valley Windworks on a Friday, where it'll appear outside of the building. Well, in Diamond and Pearl specifically, when you're about to battle Dialga or Palkia, you're shown a cutscene that shows various shots of the Sinnoh region, including the Valley Windworks, and if you just so happen to battle Dialga or Palkia on a Friday, Drifloon will appear in this cutscene as well, right on schedule, which is a very nice attention to detail when it could have just as easily been glossed over. Two of the most important characters from the Sinnoh-based games are Cyrus and Cynthia. One is the leader of Team Galactic, the other is the champion of the Sinnoh region. Well, they are actually connected in a unique way because their names actually relate to the sun and moon respectively, and Cyrus is even from Sunyshore City. This becomes even more interesting though by the time Gen 7 rolls around, because both of these characters also appear in Sun and Moon as well, with Cynthia appearing in the Battle Tree and Cyrus appearing as part of the Team Rainbow Rocket episode. This doesn't really seem to have any importance at all outside of it being a neat little connection, but neat little connections are what these videos are all about, so I thought it was worth bringing up. Next, in tandem with the discovery of that Cyrus event we discussed earlier, another interesting tidbit about Diamond and Pearl has been discovered after examining the source code of the games that recently leaked. According to a user named ShinyHunterMap on Twitter who made the discovery, the encounter rates for Pokemon found in the wild in Diamond and Pearl will either increase or decrease about 5 to 10% on certain specific days. Holidays like US Independence Day, St. Patrick's Day, and even Abraham Lincoln's birthday, along with many other international holidays and important dates, will increase encounter rates in the games by 5%. Likewise, encounter rates are dropped by 10% on the anniversaries of various tragedies, such as the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II and 9/11. This is an amazing little attention to detail that was very thoughtful of the developers to include, and it's amazing that it's finally been found out after all these years. And finally, we have an obscure reference to an even more obscure source. In the Jubilife TV station, there is a reporter named Roxy who uses a whooper when battled. This is actually a reference to a Let's Play that was done on the Something Awful forums, where a user named Chirokajo played through Pokemon Crystal, with his player character named Roxy, who also used a whooper. This whole reference came about because one of the localizers for Diamond and Pearl, Nob Ogasawara, is also a member of the Something Awful forums, and they threw this in as somewhat of a personal and one of the more unusual references that we have ever seen in a Pokemon game. And there it is, everyone. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already for more Pokemon content. If you'd like to help out the channel further, you can also check out my Pokemon remixes on Spotify, and check out my Pokemon Cardinal project if you haven't yet either. With all that considered, I'll be back on Tuesday with another video, and until then, as always, I love you all, and I will smell you guys later.